Hello there, beautiful people. Stephilipinas here, and welcome back to my channel, everyone. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about the few of the reasons of why you should not live or retire here in the Philippines. Living in the Philippines actually may seem like a good idea because of its tropical climate or the tropical weather, beautiful beaches, low cost of living, and friendly locals here in the Philippines. However, guys, there are also several bad things about the Philippines that every one of you must really need to consider before making any decision or any plans to move or to live here permanently. And one significant issue or reason is the infrastructure problems. Okay, so as you guys all know, the country actually faces numerous infrastructure issues such as poor road conditions, frequent power outages, and inadequate public transportation. And also, it can be very challenging to navigate cities due to traffic congestion caused by narrow roads and a lack of proper public transport systems here in the Philippines. Also, the power cuts, it actually also occur frequently, which disrupts daily routines and work schedules. So if you're working here in the Philippines, then yes, it's gonna be really a problem that you really need to consider prior going here. These problems actually affect not only the everyday life, but also the economy, since businesses rely on reliable infrastructure to function efficiently. These factors, you must really need to consider this when weighing the pros and cons of living here in the Philippines or retiring here in the Philippines or planning to travel or have a trip here, as well as knowing what not to do and what are the things that you should also do here in the Philippines. The next reason that you must really need to consider is unhealthy food options. Okay, so this is also one of the bad things about living here in the Philippines. Well, you know what? There are so many healthy and very delicious Filipino dishes or foods out there. But local cuisine actually heavily relies on fried, greasy, and sugary foods. And here in the Philippines, many street vendors offer a very tempting but also a very unhealthy snacks like deep fried pork belly or chicken skin that can be very hard to resist sometimes. And I can personally feel guilty about that because I also love chicken skin or any kinds of street foods. Because of living here in the Philippines may discourage people from maintaining a very healthy lifestyle, because here in the Philippines, the healthy food options are much expensive than the unhealthy ones, the unhealthy counterparts. So it may be very difficult for those on a tight budget to eat healthily regularly. So some of the Filipino people, especially the lower class family here in the Philippines, may hard for them to afford this kind of very expensive food. So this is also can be very challenging for expats who wants to stay fit while enjoying the life here in the tropical country here in the Philippines, as they might settle for less nutritious meals just because they are cheaper or just because they are very affordable. And you know what, guys? With all these factors being combined, it's no wonder why Filipinos have some of the highest rates of diabetes and heart disease or heart failure in Asia. So yeah, that's the reason as well, because again, rice is life here, and that's one of the reasons why some of the Filipinos has the highest percentage of having diabetes or heart failure. So let's go to the next reason that you must also need to consider is the risk of natural disasters. Alright, so the Philippines may have a picturesque landscape, but it is no strange to natural disasters here. As you guys all know, the country actually experiencing typhoons, earthquakes, and any volcanic eruptions frequently. But the Filipino people have learned to adapt to these conditions. But for foreigners who are not used to such occurrences, the experience can be quite overwhelming or shocking for you once you get to live and experience any natural disasters here in the Philippines. If you guys familiar with the Typhoon Odette, we have experiencing this one as well, that we didn't get to have a lot of foods, water supplies, and any other things that we needed that time aftermath or after experiencing the typhoon Odette. So for me, I think if you are going here in the Philippines and you are really sure that you want to go leave or retire here in the Philippines, you have to keep yourself ready for every natural disasters that you might be encountering here, like earthquake, super typhoon, volcanic eruptions, and yeah, other natural disasters. But so far, earthquake, typhoon, and volcanic eruptions are one of the common natural disasters that have been experiencing in this country. And actually, some of the condominiums buildings do not follow proper structural standards that can withstand strong winds and earthquake, tremors. So it's very essential for you guys, for you foreigners who's wanting to go here in the Philippines and wants to stay in condominiums, to research first and choose a condo that has excellent disaster preparedness protocols before investing your money to leave or to purchase or to have a condominium here in the Philippines. But overall, when considering living in the Philippines, guys, one of you must really need to weigh the pros and cons carefully while being very wary of the places that you must really need to avoid in Manila and Cebu, Dumaguete, due to the high risk of natural disasters. So one of the major problems in the Philippines, particularly in Manila City, is the traffic congestion. So it's no secret that Filipinos have been struggling with the issue for years now or for decades now, that in the Philippines, specifically in Manila City, is really have the worst traffic ever. And you know what? The cost of living in the Philippines may be low, but it doesn't make up for the long hours being spent on the road. The traffic problem here in Manila can cause commuters a lot of stress and frustration because, of course, you will be frustrated if you are going to work or if you're going to go to school, but unfortunately, it's very traffic. And you know what? Worst case scenario, one could actually spend hours being stuck in traffic just going to work or in school. And this actually has led some people to reconsider their decision to just moving to this country despite its many good qualities. And you know what? Roads in the Philippines are very chaotic, which can be a huge mark in the column if you are someone who likes to drive around or if you are someone who loves to travel around. And because of the country's overcrowding problem and partially due to poor infrastructure, roads in the Philippines are often considered with bumper-to-bumper traffic, which is just very bad, guys. And you know what? This past few weeks, I have been going out because of my work, which is to do vlogs and like do street vlogs. So I must really need to go to the Cebu City, which is the downtown Cebu, because I'm living 1 hour away from Cebu. So I really have to get up very early in the morning just to avoid traffic, because if I am gonna be there, if I'm going to go there in Cebu City during afternoon, which is rush hour, then yeah, I might be stuck for like 30 minutes to 1 hour. So as much as possible, even if I don't want to wake up, I really need to wake up just to go to downtown Cebu and avoid traffic. Here in the Philippines, road rules practically non-existent in the Philippines, and people should definitely plan on sticking to public transports or private drivers if moving to the country. So if you are gonna be here in the Philippines and if you want to travel or drive around the city, the best advice that I could give you guys is to just hire a motorcycle or a scooter, because it's easier for you to travel around or to drive around instead of having a car with you or a jeep or buses. So it's really important to just go and travel with motorcycle, scooter, or yeah, scooter. One of the bad things that you must really need to consider prior living or retiring here in the Philippines is the country's high crime rates. Okay, so as you guys all know, it's no secret that foreigners especially those who are not familiar with the country or who haven't been here, are often the ones who's been targeted by criminals. Theft and robbery are some of the most common crimes that is very committed against them here in the Philippines. And of course, as a foreigner who wants to live here in the Philippines, it is also very important to always be vigilant and be aware of your surroundings. That's the best advice that I could give you all. And I think you guys already know about this one because I believe that the Philippines is not only the country who has thieves or robbery or any types of crimes. Also, if you are here in the Philippines, you must really need to avoid carrying a very large amount of cash or wearing very expensive jewelry, as this can make you a very easy target for thieves, hostages, snatchers. While there are many areas that are generally safe, but it is still better to be cautious at all times to prevent any unnecessary or bad incidents from happening. You know what, guys? Living here in the Philippines can be likened to like you are living in a beautiful garden with a very poisonous snakes that is lurking around your garden. And that is one of the bad thing about here in the Philippines is because of its lack of waste management services in some areas. This is really, really bad that you must also need to consider prior living, retiring, or traveling here in the Philippines because this issue poses significant health and environmental hazards that actually affects everyone from living in this country. While the major cities like Manila cities have the garbage collection systems, smaller towns and rural communities often face difficulties in disposing of their trash properly, which is very, very bad because Manila City is very known to have all the money, all the accessible things, but unfortunately, Manila is one of the cities here in the Philippines that has a bad management services when it comes to garbage and trashes. And also, Filipino residents resort to burning their waste or dumping their trash on the empty lots, rivers, and other public spaces like at the back of the grocery malls, shopping malls. And you know what? The cost of living here in the Philippines may be relatively low compared to any other Western countries, but it does not justify compromising one's health and well-being due to poor sanitation practices. There is a lot of Filipino people, family here in the Philippines, who's been doing this kind of practices, which is they just prefer to burn all their trashes or throw their trashes or garbages to the empty lots, which is at the back of the school, or to the river, to the ocean, which is very, very bad. One of the things that you must also need to consider prior going here in the Philippines is the air pollution problems. Okay, because as you guys know, living here in the Philippines may not be for everyone. Okay, especially to those who are very sensitive to air pollution or to those people who have sensitive skin. Yeah, it's really true, guys, that there are bad things about the Philippines. And one of its major issues is the high level of air pollution, which really affects both the urban and the rural areas here. This can be attributed to factors such as vehicular emissions, industrial activities, and open burning practices. And aside from the health risk that is associated with prolonged exposure to polluted air, living in a place with poor air quality like the Philippines can also take toll on your finances. Because of course, you must really need to have a very important things to cover up the house, to cover up the car, to avoid being highly exposed to air pollution, right? And yes, the cost of living here in the Philippines is relatively low compared to any other countries, but this does not justify or exempt you from spending more on healthcare expenses due to respiratory illnesses caused by air pollution or kind of sickness that you might get just because of the polluted areas or because of the air pollution around here in the Philippines. One of the things that you must also need to consider is the healthcare accessibility. So, guys, imagine that you are in a very unknown place, or if you're about to go to a place that you have never been to and you suddenly feel sick or ill, and then you start searching for a medical facilities to get yourself checked up, but unfortunately you can't seem to find anything nearby. And the ones that do exist, let's just say that you have found medical facilities, hospitals there, but unfortunately it's either very expensive or very crowded with so many patients. So yeah, actually this is the reality of the healthcare accessibility here in the Philippines. It's very, very sad, it's very, very poor, and it's very, very bad. There are government run hospitals and free clinics available here in the Philippines, but they often suffer from underfunding and understanding the issues that most of the patients or Filipino patients that are facing every day just to get to the clinic or hospitals to get themselves checked up. Many Filipinos actually tend to just go to private healthcare providers due to their perceived better quality of service. So you know what? Some people, especially to those people who are in middle class or upper class, they have the best or the better opportunity to go for that kind of place, for that kind of hospitals, which is the private hospitals, because they can afford them. But how about to those people who are in a lower class or very, very poor family? They can't seem to afford it. So they don't have choice but to wait until they were able to save money and in order for them to afford going to the hospitals. When my aunt was being rushed to hospitals, one of the hospitals here in Cebu City specifically did not allow us to go there because we can pay down payment. Or that's the bad thing about the Philippines, which is you will not be able to go to hospitals first without having to pay the down payment, which is really, really bad. One of the things that you must also need to consider before going here is the limited job opportunities. Okay, because one of the common reasons of why people choose not to live here in the Philippines, guys, is due to the limited job opportunities. Well, although there are various industries or various types of work in the country, but it can be very challenging for the expats or for you guys, for you as a foreigner to secure a decent paying position or job here in the Philippines that would actually suffice your living expenses here in the Philippines. Again, the cost of living here in the Philippines may seem affordable compared to any other Southeast Asian countries or to any other Western countries. However, it still varies depending on your lifestyle, of how you actually live your life, and the location that you're going to live, whether in the city or whether in the province. So it actually just really depends. With limited job opportunities available here in the Philippines, coupled with high living costs, especially if you are in the city, some individuals or some of you guys might find it very hard to sustain your day-to-day needs as an expat here in the Philippines. And you know what? The best advice that I could give you all is to look or find a job before going here in the Philippines, like a remote job. You can actually, look for a remote job while you are still not here in the Philippines, because as soon as you get here, then at least you are ready, right? You have a backup plan. As a foreigner, you can find a job here. So it's really important to find a job first prior going here in the Philippines. One of the biggest cons for a potential expat deciding whether or not to come here in the Philippines or to work remotely here in the Philippines is the Philippines' very, very, very bad internet connection. The Philippines internet connection, guys, is really unreliable at its best, which can pose a problem if you are relying only for an income, which is to work remotely as a virtual assistant or any type of work that only involves using computer and a Wi-Fi. Living here in the Philippines, you must really need to consider this one, and please do a research or find a better internet connection that you can really trust to avoid any interruption or any conflict when it comes to your work or to your job, okay?